If you find yourself in situations where your horse spooks and then that spook makes you nervous and then your nervousness makes your horse more nervous, then this video is for you. I'm going to be talking to you over just the next couple of minutes about how to break that cycle, how to be less nervous with your horse, how to stay regulated and calm in those scary situations so that you can be a safe kind of regulating force for your horse as well and keep you both less reactive and more confident together. Okay, so the biggest thing you need to know is that there is a hot term right now in the world in general, not just in the horse world, about regulation and co-regulation. And the most important thing that you need to know is that regulation does not mean you're calm. Regulation means that your insides match your outsides. I like to call this congruent. So your horse can tell if you're pretending to be calm and confident, but on the inside, you're freaking out. So what regulation means is that your insides and outsides are matching. So if you want to be a calm person for your horse and a calm horse, you can't pretend to be calm. You have to actually be calm. And this is the real crux of the situation is everyone thinks that trying to force themselves to be calm is regulated enough, and it's definitely not. So how do we overcome that? Well, there's a couple of things here. So the first thing is to actually be able to calm yourself down. You need to turn off your own fight or flight instinct, which luckily, because we happen to have this fully developed prefrontal cortex, is easier for us to do than for our horses. So what this looks like is either a breathing exercise where you're breathing out for longer than you're breathing in, which tricks your brain into thinking that you're safe and not in danger, which will allow your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, to come back online and will tell your lizard brain to take a back seat. The other option is to do something that really gets you into the physical present moment. So something like really thinking about your feet in intense detail, or a 5-4-3-2-1 exercise, which I've talked about in another video, but basically is 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. And that just brings you back into the present moment. The key about all of these things, though, is whichever one you choose, it has to be something that you practice all the time, both on your horse and off your horse, because that's what's going to allow it to be a tool that actually helps you in those scary moments. So let's say your horse has a really big spook. I don't know, you're walking by a tree and suddenly a vampire bunny pops out. When your horse has that big spook, if you also react, which is totally normal and okay, just put it there first. If you also have a reaction because your horse scared you, now you're both heightened. And because you are the person with the ability to logic and reason, you say, oh, that was just a bunny. But if you're still afraid of your horse, you're both here and now you're feeding each other and we're going up and up and up. So instead, what needs to happen is you need to go, oh, that was just a bunny. Deep breath or grounding exercise or whatever you choose. I'm coming back here. And now your horse goes, maybe that was just a bunny. And then they can come down. And then you say, yeah, just a bunny. And you maybe go, and you come back down a little further. And then maybe you wait and your horse starts to lower their head and close their eyes and they come back down. And now we can walk past the tree and go to something else. Now, the really big important thing about this is we're practicing our tools to regulate ourselves, meaning bring ourselves to calm and to show that we're calm on the outside, outside of the context of our horses. So we're practicing this in life. And when our horses are acting up, we're using this as often as possible. And we're trying to use it before our horse gets all the way into fight or flight. So you're starting to learn how to read your horse's body language for stress. So what that might look like, let's back her up a little so I can get her in the frame here. Come here, baby Olive. When a horse is relaxed like Olive is, you'll see nice relaxed nostrils. You'll see eyes blinking slowly. Ears are relaxed. I can mess with her ears and they're floppy. Lip is relaxed. If I were to get her excited or nervous about something, you would see tension here, tension in the eyes, tension in the ears. All of those just mean excitement. Doesn't necessarily mean good excitement or bad excitement or fear or like joy or pleasure about something. You'll see a horse that's like in their prime and is like doing their thing, like maybe an elite jumper, for example, will show all of those same characteristics. Doesn't necessarily mean that horse is stressed. It just means that they're excited, they're elevated. A horse that is afraid will also show those same things. So context is really key here. If you start to see those things happening in your horse, that's your time to regulate yourself and then to ask your horse to co-regulate with you, which will bring your horse back to calm. The more often you do this and the more often you catch it before the explosion, the easier this is going to be, and your horse's comfort zone as well as your comfort zone is going to begin to grow and stretch. And the more your comfort zones grow and stretch, the more comfortable you'll both be, and the less often you'll have these big explosions to begin with. So to recap, if you can learn to regulate yourself, which means actually making your insides match your outsides, not just pretending to be calm on the outside, learn to regulate yourself. Ask your horse to co-regulate to you and get really, really good at this and flexing this muscle. You will have less spooks. You will have a less reactive horse. And when your horse does react, you'll be able to keep yourself calm, which will then allow your horse to be able to calm down and regulate as well. So lots of wins there. I know it's kind of boring to practice these calming and regulating techniques outside of riding. I can't tell you enough how important they are. If you're interested in learning more about this, I have tons more videos linked below. And I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to hug your horse for me.